Jamie Date, men's dating coach extraordinaire. What a conversation. The content that Jamie puts out to help men date. It's very tough to date these days. My opening question, it's tougher now to date than ever. But she's so consistent in what she puts up. It's absolutely fascinating. And what are the three things that women want? What are the three things? I'll tell you the first one, and you're not going to be surprised. It's humor. But the other two, very, very interesting. Ways to keep her affection. We also talk about three signs that she's serious about you. The first one is remembering important facts, but it's just very interesting. And she's also a professional catfisher. Wait till you hear about that and what she does there. It's just, she's written a book now. It's going to be released very shortly. She's a part of a whole flirting, of whole dating community that helps both men and women. She speaks so passionately. She got her start going door to door selling solar panels, and it just pushed her to do this. She gives these great anecdotes about meeting people and how she does it and how she helps others. It's just such great content. Women want to feel chosen by a guy. She talks about social circles, how online dating can be very difficult, but it's a great conversation that goes by in an instant. But she's got a great passion, and her view on discipline, by the way, and what it takes is fascinating as well. Just a great conversation, Jamie. Thanks for listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business that lasted over 25 years? Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission, how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family and their passion and their careers and how it helped them. Our podcast vision, growth through learning from others. Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. Jamie Day, thank you so much for your time. I'm very, very excited to talk to you. Is it tough right now? Is it a tough time to date and find people?
I will. Yeah, I'll go on the record and say, yeah, I think it is. I think as great as social media and the internet is, I think in this day and age that we're living in, has actually been a little bit more isolating than usual. I think there's pros and cons to it, right? Because I think that with the internet and with social media, dating apps, all that stuff, you have technically more options. But as we've studied, as we know, sometimes when you're given more options, it kind of makes it even more limiting. It's almost like analysis paralysis, right? So, and also I think the other thing that the internet and the social media and whatnot is doing is it's creating a lack of experience in in-person, face-to-face communication, which has allowed for things like social anxiety, approach anxiety, even just flirting, just basic flirting from men to women, where it becomes, this anxiousness surrounding it, where men just don't feel comfortable, women, don't feel comfortable. It's just kind of this, everyone's too afraid to move. So it's an interesting standstill that we're kind of in right now. And so that's really why I got into what I'm doing as a male dating coach, is if I can help aid those anxieties, and if I can help bridge the gap between, men and women, and make dating fun again, right? Dating's supposed to be fun, remember? I'm gonna do that.
Has the pandemic influenced it at all?
Yes.
Dating?
So it's interesting. I started doing this full time in 2020,
Wow.
and I feel like it was this. What is the word I'm looking for? I feel like it was this perfect storm of
Mm,
three elements, right? So social media slash the internet, the pandemic, and the Me Too movement that have kind of all collided in our culture that has led men to feel, like I said, like this anxiousness, this loneliness, this isolation, this, there's, and all of a sudden, boom, there creates this need that a lot of men are needing to hear, especially coming from a woman, of listen, it is okay to have these thoughts. You can still be attracted to women you see on the street. You can act on it. There is a way to do it. Women want you to succeed. We don't want to have awkward conversations. We
mm,
want you. It's almost like watching a child, a middle school play. You want everything to go off without a hitch. You know what I mean? You don't want to be sitting in the audience like, oh, at the end of the day, you really want this person to succeed from the feminine perspective. So now let's talk some strategy, right? Let's get you there. And so I found myself in this situation. And Jared Syke Lawrence at Modern Flirting called me up. He goes, we're starting this thing. I want you to come along with me. And one thing led to another, and I became a dating coach right in that time.
wow. Is dating difficult, easier for men versus women?
I'm going to go and say, I'm sure I'll get a lot of flack for this. I'm going to say it's the same. It's the same hard. It's probably harder on the man side, especially in the beginning, maybe in
Mm,
the beginning phases, right? Because they're typically the ones that initiate, right? They're the ones that pursue. However, when men who love to say, "Oh, it's so easy for women," it's so easy for women. Okay, what type of women are you talking about? Women that are what, 18 years old to 34, 35 years old? Okay, well now you're
mm,
leaving out an entire section of women as if we don't exist. Single moms really have it hard when it comes to dating, whereas I feel like single dads are much easier. I feel like things are easier and harder for different perspectives at different times throughout dating. And honestly, it's an argument that's a tale as old as time. I can talk for hours and hours and hours about why it's easier for women or why it's easier for men. It's really at the end of the day, is that question helpful? Right? Because
mm.
a lot of men, I like to steer away from this question because a lot of men, they like to throw up their hands and be like, well, it's so easy for women. I'm just going to walk away.
Ah,
And women, well, it's so easy for men because they get to choose whether or not we're their girlfriend. They get to lead the relationship. They're the ones who pop the question, right? The quote unquote power is in their hands of controlling where the relationship goes, right? So I'm going to give up, right? So
mm,
it's a question that I always like to have almost like a caution tape around.
mm,
We could talk about it, but there's a time limit because at the end of the
mm.
day, it's just not going to be relevant.
That's right.
Yes, life isn't fair. If we want to go down that rabbit hole, I don't know how productive what's going to come out of it.
Yeah, very good point. When I was younger, I would, I'd go to the doctors or the, eye doctor, wherever, and there'd be magazines. And I always gravitated towards the women's magazines, not the men's. I'm a man. I already know what men think. I want to see what women's perspective is. Is it,
That's interesting.
so for dating, I know I would rather hear from a woman than a male because that's the goal there. So do you find it, that the men listen more because you're a woman?
No, no. I
Really?
will say, actually, I shouldn't say no. I shouldn't say no. I just, when you said that, I immediately went to, there's a very, very famous, if you check out my comment section, you'll see it about 50 times on every post at least, is, if you want to catch fish, don't ask a fish, ask a fisherman.
Hmm.
Um, and, and I will say, there is some truth to be said about that for some women dating coaches. However, there's also a lot to be said about male dating coaches. I feel like good advice is good advice,
Hmm.
and it shouldn't be aligned with, okay, only men give great advice, because there are a lot of male dating coaches that give terrible advice. There's a lot of
Hmm.
female dating coaches for men that give a lot of terrible advice, right? I think it's one of those things where you have to really see. I mean, there's a million dating coaches out there right now. You have to see what that dating coach is saying. If you align with it, if it makes sense to you,
Mm,
go with that gut. It shouldn't be determinant on whether or not I'm a man or a woman, right? I will say there are some perks to being a female. I think sometimes men need to hear it from a female that it is
mm,
okay to approach. I
mm,
think men need to hear it from a female. Hey, listen, your online dating profile, this photo is not doing it.
mm,
Or the way that you're wording this is coming off in a way I don't think you're meaning to sound.
mm,
I think there's that sort of element, but I will say because I'm a female, I tend to naturally weed out the men that aren't going to listen to me in the beginning.
wow.
So because they rather just listen to a man. So it kind of makes it ideal for me because the men that I only work with are the ones that come at my sessions with a pen and a paper, ready to listen to me, ready to absorb my knowledge, and that there is that tremendous respect that I get from the male community from being a female dating coach. And I think, again, it all has to do with the content of which Jamie Date, not all women, Jamie Date is talking about.
Mm. Attraction triggers.
Mm-hmm.
Willing to walk away, social connector, self amusement, not dependent on outcome, be yourself. It's just so wonderful the way you tighten everything up and you just kind of deliver it in a way that it's so easy to consume and understand. How do you arrive at these attraction triggers?
So a lot of them, I've found, I'm really good at identifying patterns and things that I've
Mm,
seen. Now, the way that those things are phrased, like, the willingness to walk away or not being dependent on the outcome, these are things that I've heard from other dating coaches, but I feel like I've kind of just compiled all of them into a simple list of five. And I think that explaining each one and what makes them different and what makes them unique and how you can incorporate them on your actual strategy, game, action, whatever you want to call it, that is really where the meat and potato lies. Because yes, it's a phrase, but what does being unapologetically yourself actually mean? What
mm,
does being not being dependent on the outcome actually mean when it comes to your actions, when it comes to your mindset? How do you achieve that, right? And so in that, it's a simple list that I give in a way that men can really sit there and it's really internal work where they can really begin with those triggers first, and it allows their actions to follow suit later.
hmm. So, are you in social settings with pen and paper and just recording things, and so you could? How do you gather the information?
So, a few different ways, right? Talking, right? So I have, I work with tremendous male dating coaches at Modern Flirting, Jared Syke Lawrence, Cosmos from VH1's Pickup Artist, Dale Valor, where we, discuss. It's kind of great. We gather around beer and talk about what works, what doesn't work. I give them from the female perspective. You know what I mean? As well as my own life. It's funny. It's if you're even familiar with Sex in the City, which I'm sure I don't know if a lot of your listeners are. Great show. But Carrie Bradshaw, main character, Sarah Jessica Parker, she's a sex columnist,
Yeah.
and the whole show is she uses her own dating life as material to write about for the column that she writes about. And I honestly feel like I'm almost like this millennial version of Carrie Bradshaw because I
Hmm.
use so much of my own dating life in what I teach, from either not even just from my perspective, but from my female friend perspective, from my male friend's perspective. And it's interesting because it's so much good content. Plus, at the end of the day, Joey, I am just in your extrovert's extrovert. So when I say I love people, I'm not bullshitting around. I really do, and I
No.
have an active social life. So I just have more experience. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you have a lot of hours doing it, for me, it's dating and socializing. You're going to be good at it, and you're going to
Yeah.
be able to explain in a way that makes sense to people what works and what doesn't, and how to, and not even what works and what doesn't. Because again, attraction is an art, not a science. I say,
Hmm.
but it's a way that it can be interpreted in different ways, and so it kind of provides a lot of guys the platform to try on different things, try on different roles, try on different actions that they wouldn't necessarily do to break patterns that haven't been working for them, and starting to realize what does work, the guidance to see how you can get a different result for what they're looking for.
Yeah, very well said. You know, you had this great story, Jamie, where you talked recently about two guys were playing chess, and they were, you're talking to them, and they weren't giving you their full attention, and that was actually a bit provocative. And then you met them again at the pool table. You found out where they were because they weren't paying that much attention, and eventually found out that they were a couple. But the whole transaction of which, I mean, you paint such a picture. I felt like I was there with you, and you do such a great job with that. And it helps those watching think, oh, this can happen. And perhaps if something happens, I can look for these tools as well. It's a great, great story.
Yeah. Yeah. I almost didn't even post that one because I just thought, oh, I'm just going to get dragged. People are going to really miss the point here. But I was like, you know what? No, if it helps one guy out there, I'm
Right.
posting it. So I did, and I'm so happy I did because that one got such good feedback. But it's not that they weren't paying attention to me. It's just they were just having so much fun together while
Right.
still including me. But the difference was is that, and actually, if it wasn't for TikTok, that would have been a much longer video because there was another situation. There was two guys next to them. I didn't know they didn't know the two guys that I originally made the video about. There are two guys next to them that they weren't a couple. And I was actually talking to them first.
Hmm.
And, one guy was very extroverted. The friend was much more like painfully introverted. I wanted to give him my card. But you could tell the extrovert was giving me 1,000% attention. Yeah,
Hmm.
he was talking to his friend a little bit, but as soon as I started talking, it was like, laser beam focus on me, asking me a ton of questions, really. And it was kind of just like, and in actuality, just by appearances, that extroverted guy, the first one that I was talking to, was the most physically attractive out of all four of them that I
Wow.
tell the story about. So you would think, right? Every guy, you got to be attractive. That's the only thing that matters. Not necessarily.
Hmm.
He was actually the most attractive out of all of them, but it was just too much. It was too much attention. It was too much where I could feel I was being put on a pedestal.
Hmm.
Whereas the two guys playing chess, they were naturally funny with each other, feeding back off of each other while still including me. But it didn't feel like an interview. It wasn't like they were asking me all of the questions. They were getting to know me, but in a way that they're revealing information about themselves. They were storytelling about what's happening with them while still making me want to explain my story and want to involve myself
Hmm.
in the conversation,
Hmm.
as well as with humor and wit that they were so good at. And that was the thing that once they got up, I was like, where are those two? I was having so much more fun with them than I am with these two guys that are sitting there. One's blabbering away and the other one is, 2 seconds away from turning around and facing the wall.
Hmm.
So it was just, it was such a good learning moment. So I was really trying to paint that picture because I really was like, wow, this makes so much sense. But I do want to really emphasize the point. It's not that they weren't paying attention to me because I don't, because I think that
Hmm.
some guys, especially in the old pickup artist community, they played that game. I mean, Mystery, great dating coach, by the way. Mystery did talk about that. I think he's changed his game a little bit since. But that actually I don't think works as well because, sorry, it's a tangent. Back in the day, right, in 90s pickup artist game, there was a tactic that is very, now would be looked at as problematic, and is where you ignore the girl and just kind of talk to the guys or talk to the other people, her friends, whatever, and just kind of like give her a little attention, but not very much, like not very much at all. And the reason why I think that was able to work back in the day, because we didn't have cell phones back then. So
Hmm.
it's not like she had the option she had to get into that conversation. So it really meant for her to try to
Hmm.
get in that conversation. And that's what kind of triggered this. Okay, I have to try for this guy. Now we have cell phones. Now we can just easily if we're not being paid attention to, okay, we're going to get on our cell phone. We're going to go walk somewhere else. We're going to meet up our friends in another bar. You know what I mean? So it's just easier. So that actually doesn't work.
Interesting.
But there is something to be said by not giving the girl full attention nowadays.
Hmm. You touched on this a moment ago. Is it easier, less difficult to work with introvert versus extroverts?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's easier to work with extroverts, I think, because they don't have the fear as much. They still do, but as much as the introverted guy does. However, there's a pro and con to everything, right? So it actually reminds me, a lot of my background, came from door to door sales. I used to be a door to door salesperson,
Wow.
selling solar panels, right? And what I noticed was, yes, I'm an extrovert, so it got a lot of doors open. I got more proposals, I got more sales, what have you. However, I used to work, one of my good buddies, he was a guy named Mark. Shout out Mark. He was a guy and he also sold, but he was a very big introvert. And I realized that it's harder to get the door open, but people are much more trustworthy around him. They view him as more trustworthy. They view
Mm.
him as almost more interesting, because he doesn't just blab the first thing that comes to his brain like Jamie does, like I do. But he really takes a moment to make sure that the quality of what he's saying is good, and really pays that attention. And it puts you in a intriguing light that is different than extroverts, and I think just as potent, and sometimes if not more. So it
Mm.
really just depends on your tact and your strategy of how to enunciate and make the flavor of your attraction level great with the introversion. I'm never trying to teach people to not be who themselves. If anything, I'm trying to teach them to lean in who they are more.
Mm.
And being an introvert, I think, is an actual secret weapon if you use it correctly.
Hmm. And then there are those that are ambiverts, where they're kind of extroverts in certain places and introverts in others. Have you heard of this term before?
Sure, sure. I think at the end of the day, a lot of people mistake, and actually, I probably didn't do a great job explaining this, my last answer, but I think a lot of people mistake what a true extrovert and a true introvert is. So
Mm.
just to really clarify, so a true extrovert and a true introvert, extroverts are, it's just really at the end of the day, where you get your energy from.
Mm.
When you leave a party, do you feel more energized or do you feel drained?
Mm.
Right? If you leave a social situation, do you feel
Ah.
more energized or do you feel more drained? Because there are a lot of shy people. There are a lot of shy people that are extroverts. They like being around a crowd. They might not talk a lot, but they
Mm.
just like being in the crowd. They feel more comfortable being in a crowd and they still feel energized when they leave. They just might not say a lot. And the same thing is true with the opposite, right? There could be people that, don't really get their energy from a lot of people. Like Brene Brown is actually one of these people, right? So they
Mm.
don't get a lot of energy around a lot of people, but they still talk, right?
Mm.
So she's an actual introvert, but you would never know because at a party she's still able to talk. She's still able, but when she leaves the party, she's like, oh, I'm drained. You know what I mean? So really, it's just where you get your
Hmm.
energy from. And being an ambivert, I think it's just, honestly, because there are times where I don't really, being in a crowd does drain me. So I think
Right.
it's just more ambiverts. It's just being a human, right?
Mm.
Most of the time you're this, but sometimes you're this.
Mm.
So technically, does it make you an ambivert? Sure.
Do men ever hire you to be a wingman?
So at our boot camp, so at Modern Flirting's boot camps and retreats, yes. So I'll go
Wow.
out. Yeah. So I'll go out with them. And I'll meet girls, we'll bring them back to the table, and I think it just provides that extra comfort,
Hmm.
or what we call social proof in the industry, where women trust women. At the end of the day, women trust women when it comes to guys that they just met, right? So if a guy is with a group of guys and girls, that tells the new girl, okay, this guy's been vetted. He's not,
Mm.
if he has girlfriends, likely he's not a creep, likely he's safe, likely,
Mm.
there's a reason why girls hang around him, right? So I think being that female in that, male pod per se, it allows women to come into that group and feel a little bit, okay, I don't have to be on the defensive, right? There's another girl here. It makes me feel a little bit more safe, a little bit more comfortable. And especially, I work my magic. I talk him up. I'm like, oh my God, I freaking love that guy. He's awesome. Like, you know what I mean? I work with all these people. Oh my God, he talks to so many girls. Right? So it's one of those things where they're like,
Wow.
oh, okay. But yeah, those are always fun. Those are fun weekends.
It must be something. Yeah. What's the hardest part about what you do?
Hmm.
'Cause that sounded great to me.
Getting Yeah, yeah. The hardest part about what I do is getting men to love and trust themselves again.
Mm,
That is the, because I can sit here and coach strategy, and I can sit here and say, hey, listen, say this and do this. But if you're not feeling yourself,
mm,
if you have hangups about yourself, if you don't have confidence, it is, it's one thing that you have to get on that path so you feel it yourself. You're never going to be told you have confidence. Okay, Jamie, yes, I have confidence. It's something you have to feel. So trying to get men to navigate through the dark woods to get to the light is tough, because it's different for everyone. It's just like what I said earlier about game in general. It's not a science, it's an art. 2 plus 2
mm.
doesn't necessarily equal 4 to everyone, right? So it's trying to figure out, okay, what this individual person needs from me to help me see the light about them. And then once they light bulb comes off, once they start having those positive feedback loops and good experiences with women, and they start using that snowball effect and that momentum, okay, now the strategy comes into play. But a lot of guys will just call me up, or say, hey, listen, I want to join your program, I want to join your group coaching or what have you, because I want all the best lines, I want all the best this, I want the silver bullet, right?
Mm, mm.
And it's like, yes, we can get there, but there's all these other steps we got to get there first, because reality is I can give you a whole script, but it's just gonna be a waste of time, you know. So that's probably my hardest.
Yeah, and whatever baggage the men have brought along, you're unaware of, bad breakups, whatever it may be, tough family situation, they may carry all that, uh, and you have to
Yeah,
deal
and
with that.
actually,
Very interesting.
you you bring up a great point. Actually, I think where I said that, or why I said my last answer, getting them to realize their uniqueness, what they love about themselves. My hardest clients are the ones that are angry, bitter towards women.
Mm,
My beloved ex red pillars, we'll call them. A lot of guys that come to me have come from the red pill community. I don't know if you're familiar with the red pill
y-
community.
y-
So that, and I actually met and spoke with the guy that started the red pill community, and what he said was great, and it just was so interesting to. I mean, it was years ago, but it was a podcast interview that we had done. It was so interesting. It was like, everything that you're saying now seems great, but everything that your forums say is completely. I feel like
mm,
that movement kind of went off the rails, and there's no one really kind of leading it any. I don't know. But either way, the problem is I'm finding a lot of the guys that come to me came from this red pill community, because what they realized is that bitterness, that anger, that life isn't fair, women have it easier, women ain't shit, I'm just gonna be alone, and then like fuck this, fuck, that
mm.
bitter, that angriness, that frustration that they're feeling. Yeah, it feels great to let it out. It feels great to, be in an echo chamber with all of, guys that you see in person or online on these forums. But then they look around after so long and go, wait, my life looks exactly the same. There are no women.
Hmm.
And then once they get past that, they're like, okay, wait, now actually something has to change, because the results that I thought I would get with this movement aren't actually getting me the results that I want.
Hmm.
And then they wind up in my office.
It's where they belong. One of your posts, by the way, I don't know if this is the most important, but this is just huge. What women want: humor, comfort, and
Mm-hmm.
safety.
Yeah. Yeah. I boiled it down. I mean, humor, comfort, and safety. So much of why we date is for entertainment. Let's be real
Mm,
here, right?
mm,
And I don't mean, be a dancing monkey for us, but it's enjoying time together. That's what
right.
every couple, long lasting couple, talks about, doing stuff together, enjoying spending time together, quality time, right? So, in that, humor is a huge one. Making women laugh is a huge natural aphrodisiac. Like, it's so sexy when a guy, because another thing that Brene Brown talks about is, joy is such a vulnerable uh, uh, feeling.
Mm,
When you're laughing at something, it's so being able to trigger that response in her really builds connection. So humor is
mm,
huge. The second thing is security. And this goes back to evolution, right? It is ingrained in us that, listen, if we have babies, and regardless if you want to be a mom or not, it's still, within our evolutionary makeup, that if we have babies, we're going to not have the time for our job. We're going to not be able to hunt and gather, if you will. So we want a man that can make decisions, that can clean up after himself, that can, put a roof over our heads, help us during the time. We need that security to make us feel safe, right? Um, and then the last thing is comfort, being able to feel comfortable, and I think women, and this is something I think a lot of guys don't realize, and this is something that Jared Syke Lawrence said to me so long ago, and it was such a good thing. He said, women, especially attractive women, are the most secure and the most insecure people simultaneously you'll
mm,
ever meet.
mm,
So when it comes to comfort, we want nothing more than a man that makes us feel like it's okay to take off this mask that we're wearing all the time. So many women, especially attractive women, it's like we have to fill this role. We have to play this I'm the pretty girl role.
mm,
And so being with a guy that makes us feel like we can be silly, that we can, be messy, that we can be imperfect, that's that comfort that women, oh my God, crave, right? And so those are, I think, the three biggest elements that women are looking for if you really took a big sample pool.
Speaking to a speaking coach, and they were saying, before you can make them cry, you have to be able to make them laugh.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Because again, if you make them laugh, they're being vulnerable.
Mm,
But in a way that lets them save face, unlike how crying does, but it still allows that capacity of being open to receive following information a lot easier than if you just went straight for the
mm,
jugular, if you will, right? Making someone laugh is such an important quality, and it's such a lethal part of game.
mm.
So good, but it's one of the hardest things to teach. Teasing and humor and banter is one of the hardest things to teach, but it's the most valuable thing to have.
Mm. Because it's organic, right? I mean, the old joke, of course, back when I was younger, was, yeah, women want humor, but I never see any Jerry Seinfeld posters in their rooms. So
Mm-hmm.
they're missing the point there, right? I mean, that's a stand-up comic. This is what they do for a living versus just being funny and making them laugh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, I love the attraction for men is a light switch, but for women, it's a dimmer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. So, and this kind of goes back to the whole idea, so many men are, why don't women approach? Why don't women approach? And I'll be honest with you, I do approach, but of course this is me. I don't know what I'd be doing if I didn't approach. But what I've realized is even if, and this goes back to the whole idea that for women, you could be extremely good looking as a guy, but it's not going to be enough. Where men, it's easier. It's you're hot or you're not. Women, I could see in a really attractive guy, and I have seen a really attractive guy across the bar. And as soon as I approach him, I'm like, oh no, what did I do?
Wow.
Because now he's going to think I'm interested. Now he's not going to leave me alone. And now I got to be actually just kidding. I'm not interested. And then he's going to get mad, which has happened. You know what I mean? Because as soon as he talks, I can't, there's something about his personality I just don't jive with. Right.
Mm,
And so women, it's like we need a little bit more than just looks to make us feel inspired, that makes us feel intrigued. And actually, it's funny, you'll talk to a lot of couples. I've noticed this. A lot of married couples, and a lot of the women will say in the beginning, I was not into him. It was not,
mm,
I did not think that I was the last man on earth that I think I was going to get married. And then all of a sudden, something happened, and I was like, oh my God, I'm in love with this guy. It
mm,
happens so frequently. So you have to ask yourself, of course, women aren't typically the pursuers. Not always, but of course, women aren't typically the pursuers because we need more than just looks for us to
mm.
feel interested. Men, not so much. Men, I think in the beginning, it's enough to give action. Then later on down the line, they're going to obviously need more than just looks from their woman.
Is that why it's more common, and I'll say this delicately, just to see really attractive women with not so attractive men, whereas you don't see that very often with the opposite?
Mm-hmm.
Is that just my
Mm-hmm.
observation, or do you find that to be the case?
Nope, nope. That is the case. That is the case. I will say, I think that actually is going a little bit downhill. Now, obviously, I don't have the
Hmm.
study and the numbers to back that up, but this is just something I'm kind of feeling in my innards, if you will. I feel like because women don't need to rely so heavily on a man's paycheck, like how we used to back in the 80s and 90s and
Mm.
whatnot, and pretty much every other time throughout history. Women can make our own money. We're, making a name for ourselves in the world of work and the, our business industry, whatever, where we are requiring, and this goes back to your first question, is dating harder.
Right.
Women are requiring more from our men
Hmm.
than we ever have. And I think looks is one of them. I think women want a man that they're physically attracted to because they don't need that paycheck like how we used to. So it's
Mm.
one of those things. Guys, I don't want a gold digger. I don't want a woman that just wants me for my money. Okay. Well, then what else do you bring to the table now? Right. So it's, what is it? Have your cake, eat it too. Right. The
Mm.
value's got to come from somewhere. And my favorite way to explain it is everyone's got a cup, right? Everyone has a cup, and you fill up your cup with different value points. So if you just fill it up with looks, that cup is only going to be filled so far.
Mm.
You're going to need other elements. What else are you filling that cup with? You got humor, you got, security, you got consistency, you have a fun lifestyle, great social circle. What are other things you're filling with that cup? Find your strengths, whatever those value points are, so you can fill up that cup the best way that you can.
Hmm.
That's what I'm teaching men to lean into.
3 signs she's serious about you: remembers interesting facts, posts pics, and shows her domesticated side.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, these are all really great indicators that she is interested, um, more than just surface level, right? So there are ways to kind of keep track, if you will. If and this is for men that really, and a lot of reasons why men come to me is they don't know if the girl is interested. Like, I have no idea how to proceed with this girl or not to proceed with this girl, right? They're so afraid of making a mistake that they don't try at all. So they don't want to ruin this again. So they reach out to me, and these are just really great elements to make you think, okay, she's probably interested.
Hmm.
So remembering things about you. So when you reveal, so many men make the mistake of, I'm just going to get the girl to talk about her. I'm just going to talk about her. I'm just going to talk about her. But you're really robbing that woman or that person, because this goes with everybody. You're really robbing that person of giving the gift of being able to be there for you, being
Hmm.
able to. So when a man reveals information about himself, oh, I got this huge, presentation I got to do for work that I'm, preparing for on Thursday. I can't go out tonight, whatever. And then Thursday comes around and she's like, hey, how'd your presentation go? Boom.
Wow.
That's a good indicator,
Right.
right? Whereas a lot of guys are like, I don't want to burden her with my stuff. I'm just going to keep talking about her. Well, you're not giving her the opportunity to show you if she's interested, right? What were my other ones?
Uh, uh, post pics, shows domesticated
Oh
side.
yeah. So posting pictures, right? If a girl is consistently hiding you, if you guys are going on a lot of outings together, right? And you guys are getting more serious, and she has yet to post a picture with you or show you on her story, or even talk about you, mention you, tag you, whatever, that could be an indicator that she wants to keep that hidden to allow men to give the other men a message that, hey, listen, she's still single, she's still available.
Hmm.
And then the last one, showing her domesticated side. Obviously, this is not every woman, but I think, I don't know, most women, I would say most women, I myself included, I love cooking. I love to cook. You doing the dishes though. But I love to cook. I love to cater. I love to, pamper. I mean, for the man that I really care about, I love to go above and beyond and kind of show that domesticated side. I know a lot of women agree with me. They like to cater to their man,
Mm,
but they also don't like being taken advantage of for it too.
mm.
So, but it's one of those things where, it's acts of service. It's just another way of showing a love language. And I think a lot of women show that.
Hmm. Signs she wants you to approach. Eye contact, positioning, isolates from friends, finds ways to engage.
Hmm.
Great stuff,
Hmm.
Jamie.
Yeah, yeah. So women, we're not as it's funny. It's like we're not as smooth as guys think.
Mm,
Especially when we're kind of talking to you. If we start a conversation, it's not like we're using this pickup line. If anything, it's usually just trying to get information out of you, right? So, for example, me and those guys that were playing chess, my
mm.
opener was, all right, who's losing?
Right.
Right?
Yes,
I'm
yes,
just
yes.
trying to get information from you. Not that it's the smoothest line in the world, right? But it's an excuse to talk to you, right? So that's a huge indicator. Another one using the same, actually, I didn't even make this point until now. The chess, isolating myself and my friend to go find the guys that I was having a good
Mm.
time with at the pool table, right? So I'm gonna go try and look for these dudes, right? Or being okay with leaving to go quote, not that everyone smokes cigarettes anymore, but have a cigarette or have a whatever a breathing break outside. Little things like that. Just finding excuses, making yourself available. That's something else. My I used to do it. My girlfriends when we'd go out, I do like a little lap by myself because I know that as a woman, if I'm alone, my odds of being approached go up a lot higher
Mm.
because men don't feel as intimidated. So there are things that women do that make themselves seem to be more available and more, available to be approached. And you just got to know what to look for and act on it.
And then every once in a while you'll drop like these, you'll act the two roles. And you gave this one where you said to the guy, let's switch pants. Uh
Oh my God. I got that from my friend Taylor. Oh my goodness. So going back to my Sex of the City analogy here. So one of my best guy friends, one of my best homies is Taylor Dean. He's a great guy. And he was he's married now to my other best friend, Justice, but
hmm,
he was so good at game. He was one of the guys we used to go out. He was, I was his wing before I was even a dating coach, you know
I
what I mean?
see.
Not even knowing I was doing it, right? I just, so we'd go out and he'd always pull. He'd always pull girls. But he's so good at one of my attraction triggers, self-amusement. He
Mm,
just laughs at him. So he just creates silly situations. So we were talking about it. He's like, oh my God, you know what one I used to do all the time? And he told me that pants line, right? Oh my God, your pants, my ass. Like me, 5 minutes, bathroom, we're changing pants. So funny. And I know that it would get me to laugh.
all
And
right.
I would immediately, it would work on me. And that's kind of always my threshold. I'm like, if it works on me, I'm telling to
Right.
people.
Right.
So yeah, that's always a good one
Very
to
cool.
use.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You really
Yeah.
you really stress also the social circle, how important it is.
Vital,
Yeah.
vital, vital. So this is one of the pinnacles of modern flirting. So modern flirting is a dating coach program that's led by me, Jared Syke Lawrence, Cosmo, Dale Valor. We've kind of combined forces to to create this community, to create this dating coach program. And you know, there are three ways to meet women: online dating, cold approach, and social circle. And a lot of people, they just think, oh, I don't want to leverage my social circle. I don't want to date people within my social circle. No, 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 not necessarily. That's not what we're asking you to do, right? Because you don't want to obviously bite the hand that feeds you. What's the shit where you eat, right? That
Right,
kind of
right,
thing.
right, right, right.
But what you can do, start creating a pod or people where you're doing activities out together or throwing events where you're bringing
Mm,
girls, bringing people into your event space, into your, hey, we're doing sushi night. Hey, we're doing game night. Hey, we're doing, we're all going to go watch the game together. Hey, we're bringing this kind of camaraderie together. That is very potent. And if you are leveraging your social circle correctly, the game is on easy mode,
mm.
truly. Because the problem, and I'm about to drop a huge nugget here, but the problem with online dating, and I love online dating. You're talking to the online dating guru here. It's still a valid option, but there's a pro and con to each of the ways of meeting women, right?
Mm,
The con with online dating is you go from meeting to date. So it's very rushed, which makes the connection very shallow, which
mm,
makes, all of the natural spark that you would feel be reliant so heavily on the amazing conversation you're just going to have appear out of thin air on the first
mm,
date. So the odds are kind of stacked against you. Now, obviously, there are ways to get around it, which we teach, but with social circle, the pro and con almost switches, right? So it's harder to. So with online dating, it's easier to obtain, right? Because you can match with so many girls. It's a easier way of getting women. It's harder to attract them. Whereas with social circle, it's easier, or it's harder to have a social circle, but it's easier to leverage meeting more women and attracting women because now
uh,
the women are seeing you in this social, fun, dynamic, group dynamic where they're not being put on a pedestal. It kind of acts
mm,
like the chess thing again, right? They're not being put on a pedestal. They're seeing you interact with your friends, what you like doing with, and then women witnessing guys live their life and live in their passion and live, socially with their friends, whatnot, that also acts as such a natural aphrodisiac because
mm,
we actually get to see who you are and you don't even have to talk to her,
hmm,
at all moments, at all moments like you would at an online dating date. Right. So it's actually easier. And so that's kind of the mindset shift. And this is something that we teach in modern flirting, how to do it is you throw these events and you get women to see you and then you can, and it allows the environment allows you to naturally create that spark that
mm,
women are looking for, that men are looking for so much easier than if you had just gone the online dating route.
hmm. Do married couples ever want to engage with you to deepen their relationship? They've kind of lost it, and does that ever happen?
Mm. I've had a few. I've had a few throughout the years. Usually, the realm that I see is we're trying to open up the relationship.
Mm,
How do we navigate that? I'm familiar with polyamory. I'm familiar with open relationships. I'm familiar with having those tough conversations, setting the boundaries, setting expectations,
mm,
managing expectations, jealousy, things like that. So
mm.
that is why married couples have gotten with me in the past. Or it's been, Jamie, I was dating this girl for a long time, but I fucked it up. This happened, what have you. I want to get her back type of thing.
Ah.
That's another thing that I has been familiar to me. Um, and yeah, those are kind of two primarily as far as like the couple ones go.
Hmm. Hmm. Don't compliment a woman on her appearance first. Intelligence,
Yes.
empathy, and physical.
Yes. So okay, a lot of guys they they start because the men again, men's attraction is a switch, right? So
Mm.
of course, the first thing that they're going to compliment is the first thing they notice, her physical appearance. That's what every guy does, and it just doesn't make an impact,
Mm.
right? I always use the line of like, oh, you're so pretty. Thanks, I made it myself. Like I don't really know what to say to that.
Huh.
It doesn't really build attraction, right? So again, complimenting is fine, just change the time, right? My little alliterations here.
Mm.
So you can give her a physical compliment, but make it later. Make it once you get to know her a little bit. Make it when you go on a date and she gets herself real dolled up.
Mm.
Damn, you look hot. Damn, you look beautiful. Wow, it's so sexy when you do this. Woo! That yes, because now I really feel noticed because I know that you like me for other reasons first. If you want to compliment a girl in the beginning, do it on something she tried for. Do it on something that's not as obvious.
Mm.
One line that I use a lot when I'm a professional catfish, so I pick up women professionally online. And one line that I use a lot, it's not a line, but the compliment is if they crack a funny joke, if they kind of add to my already fun banter and they add to it, you're a funny girl. You're a really funny girl, insert name. And every time it's like they light up.
Hmm.
They heart it and they're like, they do a blush emoji, whatever, because a lot of girls don't get called funny.
Hmm.
Or you're a smart girl. Okay, game recognizes game, right? All right, smart girl. If she comes up with a good idea, it's one thing that to say those things because we actually are now being seen by how we want to be seen,
Ah.
not by how every other guy sees us. See the difference?
Hmm. Hmm. Explain professional catfish.
So I am a guy on dating apps. Sometimes I use just one guy. Sometimes I use clients. They'll pay me like a monthly subscription, and I'll message and I'll get phone numbers and I'll arrange dates, and I'll
Wow.
match and I'll open and I'll lead conversation. All for the and actually it's not just me doing it because I don't like just doing it because then I'm just fishing for you. I'd rather teach
Mm.
you how to fish. I show you what I'm doing and I explain it throughout. And you can see because you're still in your account as well. So you can
Sure.
see how I'm leading that conversation. And that's a really good way of learning very quickly. I also have a
Mm.
banter course where I go into and actually the real primary reason I do it is so I can use these examples to teach men through my courses, online courses, and I actually show you through conversations from opener to getting the number, how to actually go about it, right? Because I mean, if anything, this is kind of like my claim to fame, right? Because I don't think any other female, and this is what it goes back to when it comes to don't ask a fish, ask a fisherman
Mm.
thing. It's like, listen, I get you. Girls are love you, women. I am one. Girls are terrible at online dating, having conversations. It's like they expect you to, create all of this magic out of, hi, right? Or they like your picture, or they, you know what I mean? And it's so, it's very unfair to the guy. They got to like, pull a bunny out of a hat trying to get,
Right.
this phone number, with very little to work with on the profile. But it is possible. And I'll tell you, thank God Jared at Modern Flirting, he was the one that was like, you're doing this. And I was
Mm.
like, online dating? I mean, I've done it as a girl, but I was like, online dating? He's like, yeah, just do it. Figure it out. I don't know. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, all right, well, let's just create a profile with a guy. I just want to see.
Right.
And then turns out I'm really damn good at it.
Yeah.
And so now it's actually one of my favorite things to do, to be honest
Yeah.
with you, just because it's a platform for me to prove
Mm.
that I know what I'm talking about.
Mm.
I can be a guy, right? And I can show other men that it is possible and they can do it. And this is the best practices on how.
It's interesting because when I hear catfish, I think deception, but that's not what you're doing at all.
Well, deception because the person that they're talking to isn't the guy that they are matching with. They're talking to
Right.
me.
That is true.
Um,
Has
yeah,
it
so it is.
backfired?
No,
Good.
no, because the reality is this. What happens is this, and obviously, I don't know, people can feel different ways about this, but as a woman, I'm still okay with it because this is what I do. At the end of the day, say I get a number. Say I get your number, Joey, right? And you're a girl, I'm a guy. I'm gonna the next day, once I give the number, whatever, once I copy the conversation to then teach it, I'll say, hey, listen, it was so nice meeting you. I got to be honest. My ex girlfriend and I are going to give it one last shot. You really seem like a great girl. I didn't want to ghost you, but good luck with everything. 10 out of 10 times, 10 out of 10. The girls, no worries. Good luck with everything.
Wow.
Thank you so much, whatever. And then I unmatch. And honestly, if I was the girl on the receiving end and I got that message from a guy, it really wouldn't make a difference
That's right.
because the reality
Huh.
is this, you guys. Guys care so not care. Guys put so much value placed on matches where girls don't.
Hmm.
Just because I matched with a guy, you don't actually become a legitimate option until after I meet you. Men, as soon as they match, that girl's a legitimate option. It carries so much more weight because of scarcity. So in that, I don't think women care as much as people think that they do. At the end of the day, if a guy was like,
Hmm.
hey, listen, I'm going to give it another shot with the girl. I'm so sorry. Have a good rest. Tight. Awesome. Good luck with that. And that's the worst that happens. You know what I mean? That's it.
Mm.
So
Very cool.
is it terrible? And then my other justification for it is I'm doing it for science. right? I'm doing it to help guys have
Research.
more fun. No, but I'm doing it for women too, because now I'm going to help a guy have better conversations, have more fun, banter, what every girl claims that she wants on online dating. I'm helping the guys to do it. So we both win, baby. It's a
Mm,
win-win
it
situation.
sure is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does dating style and technique and approach differ in geography, different parts of the states? I know you're out of the states right now. Does it differ at all in geographies?
I've had clients from all over. I actually have 3 clients right now from Saudi. I've had clients
Wow.
in Egypt. I've had many clients in India, China. And there are a lot of the same principles. I think the thing that differs between, maybe like westernized nations or, Europe or, what have you, is maybe, on the more conservative countries, men don't typically approach in the same type of fashion. Maybe
Mm,
they don't have access to the same online dating apps. You know what I mean? Maybe they are, in a culture where it's arranged, but they want to make
mm,
the best first impression, which I've had a few of those.
huh,
So maybe the elements, the logistics are a little bit different. But honestly, I think at the end of the day, humans are humans
mm,
and attraction is attraction. I think there's so many elements that you can pull that are really, cross borders, cross boundaries. You know what I mean?
mm.
As far as what works, I think a lot of it. There's a lot of overlap in it. So, yeah,
We all wanna be loved, right? Essentially, right? We all wanna
essentially, and we all want to be attracted. We all want to
Yeah.
be attracted and attractive for our partner,
Mm, mm.
right?
So, Jamie, a while ago, back in the '90s when I started my business, I wasn't paying attention to myself and, I gained a lot of weight. I was working way too much. And doctor said to me, if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. So, over the next year and a half or so, I lost 130 pounds. People
Woo,
ask
good
me,
job.
yeah, people ask me how I did it like it's some secret, like it's some silver bullet, like you just said. And I said, discipline. I just got focused and discipline. I wasn't going to see my daughter again. That's all I needed to hear. How does discipline play a role in what you do and what you teach?
Oof, I love that. So discipline plays a role because you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. What we are
Mm,
teaching men to do is very hard. I'll empathize with you. Or I'll
right.
empathize with the guys that come. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it is hard that we're teaching, to go up to a woman and just make conversation out of thin
Mm,
air, make her laugh, put yourself out there. It's hard.
yeah.
I'm not going to take that away from you. But just like everything else, when you try for something and you get it, it's so much better to earn something than to just be given,
Mm,
right? And so in that comes discipline. And this is what I teach so many guys, especially when it comes to like approach anxiety. It's changing that fear of rejection into the fear of regret, which
hmm,
lasts so much longer, right? They're so worried about this very, very short amount of time in their life where it's like, oh, right before meeting and approaching, I feel so nervous. Well, and then once the girl leaves and they miss that opportunity, it's like for days they'll be like, fuck, why didn't I do this? And
mm,
look at how much longer that fear is. Look at how much longer that negativity is. So discipline is the remedy.
hmm,
Approach even when you're nervous. Do it even if you're feeling anxiety. I always tell my clients this: approach enough to where you don't feel that anxiety as much anymore. You'll always have it, but it's not going to, because you've changed your patterns so many times even when you didn't want to. It's like that initial I don't want to do it starts to go away, because it's
hmm,
like, I don't want to do it. Sure, do it even because you don't want to do it. Just do it. Just so you're training your brain to know that A, you can do it, and B, that is what's expected. And you do that
mm,
enough, your patterns start to change, and the way that you view yourself starts to change. You start getting that positive feedback loop starts to change, and then the way that you feel about yourself, your confidence starts to change, because now you're getting results.
mm. Do you think you would have been such great a coach as you are now if you didn't go door to door and do those kind of sales and kind of develop that?
No,
Yeah, it's
no,
essential, isn't it?
yeah, no. I love that question. No, that Woo, baby. All right. So I really feel like everyone should either work in the service industry. So I was also
Mm.
a waitress, cocktail waitress for a long time in my early 20s. And even when I was a teenager, shout out to Johnny Rockets when I was 16.
Oh.
Um, and I used to do that. I think everyone should either work in the service industry or the sales industry
Mm.
because you learn so much about people. I know for a solid fact that I learned more about psychology. I learned more about people, talking to people, doing door to door sales on 100% commission, meaning if I
Mm.
didn't sell, I didn't make.
Mm.
So talk about discipline, right? Um, than any course, any college degree, any book could have taught me.
Right.
Yeah. So I do full-heartedly agree. I think without that experience, I would not be anywhere near as good as I am today.
When I was younger, in my 11 or 12, my mother changed to a religion that we kind of took part of. I was never baptized or anything. That went door to door. So as a preteen, I went door to door, and it was tough in the beginning, but I would not be as good as sales, and I would not be as good as an extrovert as I am now if that didn't happen. That's my great takeaway.
Right.
I also got on stage in the church and spoke a lot. Again, I have no fear of public speaking, but these things that came to you, regardless how they got there, help form what you can do later.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I also was a theater kid back in the day too, so I really didn't have a fear of people either, and I think that also contributed. But I think door-to-door sales is one of those things where, yeah, it's funny. We also worked with a few, I'm assuming Jehovah's Witness
Yeah.
people as well that have no fear of knocking on doors. But
Right.
again, fear, it's really just, again, you have to submerge yourself. If you have a fear of people or if you have a fear of women, submerge yourself in them long enough to where A, you empathize, and B, you no longer fear them because you're around them all the time. It's
Mm.
a weird, and I don't know, this might sound weird, but I'm going to go with it because I actually, there's so much truth to it. It's almost like racism.
Mm.
So especially, I come from Florida, right? So, my father's side, very Southern, and not that they were like this, but just that Southern culture has so much of this, the racist ties in the
Mm.
background, and it only comes from because they were other, they
Mm.
were just not around them, they were far away, so
Mm.
just naturally this fear for them came into place because they just weren't surrounded by them all the time. And it's so funny once segregation went away, people
Right.
start now that's the cure. We
Right.
just have to be around each other
Mm.
more to where we're not fearful of each other anymore.
Interesting.
Approach anxiety works the same way. Start if the only times you see women are from porn, at a bar where you may or may not talk to them, or your buddy's girlfriend or your family members, that's a very small sample size of women,
Mm.
right? Start associating yourself, submersing yourself into a community. Start submersing yourself
Mm.
into places where women go, because you'll realize, and this is the real secret here, women and men are not that much different
Right.
at all. We love to talk about how we're so different, and some elements, sure. But I think that there are more differences between individuals than there are between men and women.
Mm. Hmm. Jamie Day, what motivates you?
Mm, helping. Helping guys. When I get those text messages, ooh, Jamie, I went on a date last night, my first date in years, or Jamie, I met this girl and she's my girlfriend now, or oh, I
Mm.
got this other one the other day. Jamie, I got my first kiss. And I think he
Oh.
was 30 or 29 years old. Jamie, I haven't had a date in so long, and I just, I have 3 this week. It's just those text messages, and actually you can see that I'm on my Instagram, Jamie Date, had to plug. But there's testimonials, there's text messages that I get, emails that I get, that if I can cure loneliness, if I can not cure, but if I can help
Mm.
the aid loneliness, because loneliness is the thing that's killing our country.
Mm.
Loneliness is the thing that is killing people. They say that they've come out with all these studies recently. They said that chronic loneliness is the equivalent of smoking 16 cigarettes a day, Joey. 16,
Mm.
right? It leads to hypertension, cardiovascular disease. It leads to depression, anxiety. It's loneliness. And it's
Hmm.
because we live in such an isolating world. So if I can help give people the tools to start getting themselves into a community, to start getting themselves to be happy, having conversations, being more social, and getting away from that loneliness, I can literally help humanity, and this would be my part in the world. And
Mm.
that makes me get up every morning.
Good for you. And how do you measure success?
Ooh, I measure success on waking up and feeling that you have the opportunity to be your authentic self
Mm.
every day. If I can wake up and get paid to be myself, to contribute what the strengths that I've been given, to really hone and craft the strengths that I've been given to help people, that's success. I mean, that's the thing that makes me feel alive.
Hmm. Well, Jamie, I mean, I was so excited when you accepted this. I've been following you for a long time. I absolutely love your content. I love what you do. How can we get in touch with you?
Okay, so we can go to my socials. So it's Jamie Date, JAM is in Mary, IE Date, and that is on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I'm on YouTube. I just wrote my first book called
Whoa.
How to Make Online Dating Suck Less: Lessons from a Professional Catfish. You can get that on Amazon. It's coming out my birthday, May 28th. And that is on my link tree on any of my socials that you go to. You can also find me at Modern Flirting. So if you Google Modern Flirting and you click on me, you'll see me. It's the dating coach program that I lead with 4 other great dating coaches. But either way, I'm very accessible. You can email me, you can write me, and yeah, let's help you get that dating life you've been dreaming about for years.
Fantastic. Absolute pleasure. I wish you well. And if we're ever in the same geography, maybe we'll have a glass of wine and talk more about it. But I thank you so much. You travel well and be safe out there.
Thank you so much, Joey.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with 1 or 2 of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Would you like to financially support the podcast? You can go to our Patreon site. Consider $5, $10, or $20 a month. There's all kind of plans that we have there. There's like a one-time payment. What is this podcast episode worth to you? $25, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, $5,000. You be the judge. You can go to our PayPal account to do that as well. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.